Hey everybody, this is Amy from Ozzy Headshots, and I'm doing this little retouching tutorial for those of you who are interested in the retouching process, or maybe just wanting to know kind of how somebody else does their retouching. So the thing I do first typically is I duplicate my layer and I start looking at the skin and cleaning up the skin. Okay, my friends, while I am now in an 8 times faster mode so that you don't have to sit there and go through this whole thing, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit while you're watching what I'm doing here in fast motion. So pretty self-explanatory, but please notice that what I'm not doing is blurring the skin in any way. I'm trying to maintain the most natural looking texture and color and value as I can, and just go in there with this blemish removal tool, and then also looking at the eyes were kind of bloodshot. It's allergy season where I am, and you can get really nitpicky here, but you know, I like it to be clean and I don't like to see any distractions, but you know, you also want it to look as natural as possible. So now here I'm using that patch tool. I like it a lot. It's kind of for larger areas. Cleaning up the neck as well. Sunspots, age spots, whatever they are. Little hairs that are misbehaving. You know, you can see, those of you who weren't familiar with the editing process, the retouching process, you can really see how much goes into it. I mean, I'm up close and personal. And don't feel bad about that because, you know, most people don't have flawless skin. You can do something about it, you know, in advance with trying to take good care of your skin. Maybe go get a facial a week before or something like that. At some point, you just have to kind of let it go and say good enough, okay? And, you know, I think I kind of liked a couple of these freckles, so I might actually just bring back this freckle. Kind of liked those. And there was one right around here, too, that I kind of liked. There. That's good. So now I'm going to duplicate that layer, which is Command J. I call it Apple J. And another thing I really want to do is go in and minimize wrinkles. Just a little, just a tiny bit. So, you know, like these creases in the forehead. I'll also sort of get rid of some of these. I like to keep some of them, especially around the eyes. I actually kind of think they're pretty. And it looks kind of crazy right now. You would never want to get rid of all these wrinkles. You actually, you know, you wouldn't want to get rid of all of them. But for the purposes of right now, I'm getting rid of them, and then I'm going to add them back. So this is the process I go through. Okay, so here was the original. Then I cleaned up the skin. You can see that. And then I cleaned up wrinkles, just a little. I didn't take them away completely. And actually, yeah, I like it at about 50%. Okay, so together, that's kind of the bulk of it. Okay, so now I want to adjust overall color once the skin's looking good. So I'm going to do a white balance first. I think it's a little bit too warm. So here it is, the warmer one, and here it is cooler. I like that. And I was thinking I might also just do some color balance where my shadows are just a tiny bit like a 1. And my midtones are just like a 1. And now you can kind of see between the two of them that change there. It's kind of yellowy, and now it's not. It's kind of a little cool. I like that better. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, a new pixel layer, and I'm going to fill in my eyebrows. So I'll call this one Brows. And I like to grab my color and select a color in the brow. And I'm going to make this a multiply layer. So at first I'm going to overdo it. And blur while I'm in the full opacity here. So you can see they're pretty blurred out. Anything that's sort of not exactly in the lines. Oops. So they're kind of crazy, right? But I'm going to reduce the opacity way down. Okay, you guys, I hope you're holding on to your seats because we're going back into 8 times faster mode here while the other me goes like crazy with some brows. And this reminds me, now that I'm narrating over this clip, it reminds me of the clip where Snoop Dogg narrated over, kind of as like a parody of the nature documentaries. And it's really, really funny. But I think it'd be funny to have a layperson. Maybe Snoop. Maybe we'll try to get Snoop for the next tutorial. Narrate over this and just be like, what is going on here? We got some eyebrows and we're drawing. But anyway, I'm digressing. So ladies, this should illustrate the point that every detail matters, and actually seeing a makeup artist, a trusted makeup artist beforehand is highly, highly recommended so that you are very well groomed and put together, because these details do matter. But at least we can do a certain amount of cleaning up after the fact. So together, that's what the brows look like. It's pretty good. There we go. So already that's a major improvement. I hope some of you would agree. It's subtle. It doesn't look, my skin's not all blurred. You can still see texture in it. But just those distractions are gone. Lets you focus more on the expression and everything else that's going on in the image. Okay, so the next thing, I'm just going to save that. The next thing I want to do is the eyes. So now I'm going to do this up here. I'm going to start with like a 2 feather Actually, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to take the whole eye. I want to elevate some of those darker parts, so that's why I have the curve set like this. You could see if I really went overboard, I could look like a White Walker pretty easily. You don't want to do that. And I also have the highlights coming up a little bit. So now you can tell that's a lot. I'm going to back it off a little bit and kind of fix the edges of it a little bit. I think I'll probably blur the edges a little bit. I think that blurs the mask a little bit. I'm pretty sure. Without blurring the eyes, of course. You wouldn't want to be on actually one of these layers, these pixel layers. I'm doing this. And I like to take my eraser and erase the pupils too. And I think I am just going to like take that down a notch. It's still kind of bright. That's better. I also like to erase right around the top a little bit and let that be dark. Because otherwise it sort of takes the squint, a little squint out of my eyes too. Too much. Okay. Now I want to do the lips. And to do the lips, I take the rubber stamp tool and I take a really small width on my little small diameter. And I like to kind of clean up the edges of the lips. Almost like I'm using lip liner after the fact. Okay, so we're going to speed through this. But this again illustrates the point of the importance of a makeup artist. I really didn't do much of anything to my lips prior to this shoot, except I did exfoliate them like a day earlier. And I take good care of them with chapstick and that sort of thing. But I'll tell you, chapped lips are really tough to work with. And you know, you can try to smooth them, but it's really good to just have your lips in good shape for your shoot. And a makeup artist for the ladies. So I like to fill in these little cracks and stuff. And just try to smooth them out. I guess it's like watching paint dry, isn't it? I think I might speed it up a little bit faster. Oh yeah, we're in warp speed. Okay, so I'm going to use my Dodge tool next, and I'm going to start accentuating that Cupid's bow and adding some highlight to that bottom lip to give it some bulk. I'm sampling a color there and using a paintbrush, which I will then blur to make it look more natural and make an overlay and scale back the saturation, the opacity of that layer. And I'm just kind of fussing with it now. Here's a little tidbit. Speech therapists call that part up above the lip the philtrum, but makeup artists call it the Cupid bow, which is very cool. So what I've just done is flattened all the upper layers. So these are a lot of changes that I merged and saved the file as a new name. But you can see before and after, and all the changes are there. The eyebrows, the lips, the skin, the color, the fine lines and wrinkles before and after. Already there's a big difference, and I'm pretty happy with the image already. But now I want to add a pixel layer, and we're going to call this one eyes. Actually, we'll call it eye makeup, or eyes. I'll just call it eyes. We already did the eyes themselves, you know, because you can see that change here. They get brighter. But I just want to do a little bit of fixing the eye makeup. So I sample the color, and I have my brush here, and I'm just going to make it a little smaller and zoom in a little bit more so I have some better accuracy. And the color I sampled, I'm going to make this a multiply layer so it's easier to see. And you can see I'm going to blur it just a little. You don't want to go too much, but it's good to blur. And then just again make sure none got on this side. So, okay, and then, but of course you want to just take it down. Like, you know, you're just accentuating it. But it doesn't need to be perfect. Not too much. I could go more subtle, actually. That's good. Okay, save that. Okay, my friends, I'm back after another little break. And the image is looking pretty good. I'm actually going to merge down this eye makeup now. So all the changes are on one layer. Because I kind of thought that the eye makeup was just subtle enough. Sometimes I go in and I also do some eyelashes. If I'm being really specific. And I think I will do that today just to show you. So this was something Chelsea Northrup showed me in a tutorial. So I'm going to create a new pixel layer and call this lashes. I'm going to select a color from the lashes. And I'm going to use like a size 3 diameter approximately, usually. And I'm going to make it a multiply layer. Okay. Now, I'm just going to try to do some more lashes that just extend just a little bit the lashes that I naturally have. And I think that looks really nice. If you wanted them to be darker, you could duplicate that layer. I don't know if we need that, but I think maybe at least a little bit. I think that looks pretty natural, so I'm happy with it. It just, gives me a little boost. I think that looks pretty. The next thing I think I'm going to do is fix the hair. We've got a lot of wispies here and a pretty straggly. We also have the ear here. I'm thinking about what I want to do about that ear. I'm not sure what the answer is, but I just don't want to see it. That's better. That's fine. I like that you don't see that ear. You don't need to see that ear. As for all this hair, I don't use hairspray. That's part of the problem. Okay. So if we flick that on and off, you can see. Now, I tend to want to let a tiny bit of it show, so it's not 100% clean. So about 59% is pretty good. I'm happy with that. So that's good. And again, I'm going to merge those again. Now you can see the changes all on one layer again. Save. There's this little thing down here. I want to get rid of that. Okay, so we've got all the changes on one layer, lots of distractions eliminated. I still see this stuff here on the shoulder. So what I want to do now is use my lasso tool actually and use a lot of feather to select some parts that I want to make brighter. And I'm going to use this curves adjustment to bring some highlights in. And you can see what that did, and that's instead of using the dodge tool. And I like to keep that subtle. But it's just enough to sort of brighten everything up just a little. It's pretty light. If you look at the histogram, you'll see we're almost there. I think what I'll do now is I'll take a large feather again and just come on with it. like that. Oops, I had it on subtract. And I'm going to take that layer, go ahead and adjust the curves there. There, and now we're finally, the histogram looks right. So that's awfully bright. I mean, I think maybe it could come a tiny bit. But the whole point is that, yeah, I mean, you glow in this light. So the next thing I want to do is the dodging and burning of the hair. You want that hair to shine. So if you see, I'm not doing it much, but I'm adding a tiny bit there just to encourage it to shine a little bit more. That's pretty. And up top, it's, you know, it's got some good shine. I don't want to look greasy up here. Okay, well that's pretty good. I like how that looks. You can see, it's subtle. I also like to add color in the hair. So the next thing I'm going to do, create a new layer. It's a pixel layer. And I'm going to grab some color from my hair. And I'm going to start to color that in. And the reason I'm doing this is because the top of my hair doesn't have as much of that brownish red color as the rest of my hair. And I do like it. Overlay does some weird stuff with the skin tone, but I do like it. Let's see. I like it. Almost done now. And really what I want to do is just fix up this thing on the sleeve. And another thing I want to do is actually, I didn't get this shadow before. So yeah, to about 50. Okay, I'm going to do a new layer, and this time I'm going to just work on evening out this blush. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, and a little bit up here. And now it is time for a couple other things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take down the size of this back eye. So now we're getting to some little bit of magic. I'm in the liquify persona in here. And you can see what this tool does. It's going to shrink the size of this eye down a little bit. And the reason I want to do that is because I have an eye difference here. I was trying to squinch this eye more than this eye because usually this eye is more closed, and in the process I over squinched this eye. So you can see I just very subtly took down the back eye. And I like that. And then sometimes I straighten my nose a little bit. I could do that a little bit. I think I'm going to do it this way. There are multiple ways to do it, but I think I'm going to do it this way. I think that's pretty good. And, you know, I can also go into the liquify persona and just give a little nudge. And I'm pretty happy with that. I could also go in here and I could do a little change on my nose, just a tiny bit. I could just there. That's a more noticeable change. Okay, so before and after, nice and clean, and the color's corrected. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is remove the background and then we're done. So I'm going to take this layer and I'll use a rubber stamp, fairly large with a high flow. And I sample as close as I can to the black. Possibly, let me see. Okay. All right, what I want to do now is crop. So do it like this. And I'm going to do a 5x4. I just like to be neurotic, that I'm like inside the image properly. And actually, I am going to come up just a tiny bit. No, I liked it like that. Okay, so I also like to sharpen the irises a little bit. So I'm just going to do this and a new live filter layer in here. I mean, you can do this a number of different ways, I'm sure. I'm also going to go in and use my vibrance. And then I'm going to go in here. And what I like to do in here is do an opposite of vibrance. I like to take down the vibrance. You can see if you go all the way down, it gets kind of bluish gray. You don't want that, but I think that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to select the gray and cool it down. And so at the very end here you see the before and the after. I could bring back some of the freckles. Okay, you guys, you're back with narrator Amy while we watch the Amy who was living in the past obsessing over some freckles by kind of just erasing the upper layer to allow some of that lower layer, the freckles, to show through. And so there's always one last little thing I can think of to do, but I think right there it's all done. So you see the before and the after. Before and after. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Here's, by the way, the higher resolution JPEG file. I want you to know that this is actually a self-portrait I took yesterday, and it is, following hours and hours and hours and days and months of focusing on the style of Peter Hurley, who is the #1 world premier headshot photographer and my coach. He has a coaching platform for photographers who want to emulate his style and be part of his crew. It's called Headshot Crew. Within the Headshot Crew, I have an immediate mentor who, just from the bottom of his heart, just his own goodwill, has taken on some wingies. He's my wingman. He calls us wingies, and just gives of his time and of his energy to try to help us grow. And I'm so lucky and happy to be in his group and under his Master Jedi training. So thank you guys, Peter Hurley, Master Jedi Peter Hurley, and Master Jedi Caraminder. You guys are so amazing, and I feel so lucky. And I'm really happy you guys like this shot too. And thank you to everyone who's watching. I recommend you check out those guys online, peterhurley.com and caraminder.com. They are amazing photographers, really great, and amazing people too, and really funny and cool. So thanks to those guys, and thanks to everyone who helps me, supports me, loves me, cheers for me, and everyone who stuck through this video and watched it. I hope you got something out of it, whether you're a prospective client of mine or somebody else who does high-end photography and retouching in this style, or whether you are maybe another retoucher or a beginning retoucher or another photographer looking for some tips and tricks when retouching. I hope somebody out there got something out of this. If you did, please like it and subscribe if you would be so kind, and if you'd like to see more like this. I'm happy to answer any questions in the comments section, or you can give me ideas and suggestions. I am still a student in many ways, even though I've been retouching for decades. There's always a different way to do it, and guys who are in the Headshot crew, my brothers and sisters in the crew, If you guys are seeing something that I'm doing that's too heavy-handed for headshot crew style that you think, or maybe something you think I should do differently to try to really be consistent with the school of the camp that we're in, which is the Peter Hurley style, hey, let me know, because maybe this video will serve to show you how I'm doing it so that I can get that feedback from you. So again, I'm going to stop rambling, you guys. Thanks so much. This is my very first screencast. I hope you liked it.